1450 AM. I am TJ Walker. Our producer today is Matt Childress over in the other room. And Stephen Peak will be joining us from Lexington, Kentucky in segment number 2, potentially hour number 2. So it's just going to be TJ and Matt here to start the show. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope that you're having a great start to your week and your Mondays off to a pretty good start. Producer Matt, how are you?
I'm great. Borderline fantastic.
You tweeted you can't wait for work until Monday. This is your work, right? This is hello to work.
This is my work, yeah.
This is it. This is, you are now into work. This is your first taste of the work week. So welcome to work.
I'm ready to go. I've been ready to go for the past 3 days. The first time in my life, the weekend actually couldn't end fast enough.
I'm ready to get back to work, as a matter of fact. Some would say I'm ready to get back to work, and I'm back at it. Here we are. So you were excited for your work day. I'm sure it's going to show in your work throughout the week, that eagerness, that excitement.
Oh, of course. You got to step up to the plate.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. No, that's a special feeling, and obviously, well, you know, I was excited. I mean, I was very excited for radio today, but but for different reasons. The reason that you're feeling, that is a pretty peak Stephen Peak feeling in the sports world. Just, I can't wait to go and gloat and shine and talk and be happy and smile the entire time. And it's not even so much, Producer Matt, what you're going to say across all the variety of shows that you're going to be on, but it's also like you can't consume enough of it either. It's like, well, I want to listen to this guy.
Exactly.
I want to listen to that podcast. I want to hear what they have to say about all my exciting sports news. Yeah, Kentucky fans aren't necessarily probably there. Hopefully there are people listening to me today that want to hear what I have to say and what Stephen Peak has to say, and of course what Producer Matt has to say. But it's a little different. It's a little different setup. One program thriving, the other program just with an absolutely brutal loss. Those games over the weekend, pretty similar. Both Kentucky and Louisville, big 2-touchdown underdogs, double-digit underdogs, playing big brand names with not a lot of expectation, but granted the lines were in kind of weird spots. Louisville looks like the better team against Miami, is outplaying them and winning throughout their game. Kentucky looks like the better team against Texas, outplaying them, losing throughout their game. And it doesn't matter how it really looks for the majority of football. Sometimes this happens. Gets down to crunch time. Miami's coming back. Oh, no. Louisville's going to lose this game. Kentucky's coming back. Uh-oh. Is Kentucky going to do the unthinkable here? Louisville finds ways to close out their game and make just an unbelievable play to close it out and win. And Kentucky finds an unbelievable way to lose the game, can't close it out, and you lose. And now one program, happy as could be, thinking college football playoff, and legitimately has to be. I don't say this to rivalry. I don't say this to jinx. I don't really care if you take it that way anyways. It will be totally embarrassing if U of L doesn't make the college football playoff. And they will. They're going to. To that texter who won all those free bets, I told you, make a bet on Louisville to make the college football playoff. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Their schedule is a joke. And they could even potentially drop a game. The issue is their schedule's such a joke, though, if they drop any of the games on their schedule, it's going to be such a bad loss, it's really going to hurt them. But I don't think they are going to lose. I would say the most likely potentially would be the road game at SMU. But U of L, because they were able to close out a close game against a team that's probably more talented than they are, although it didn't really look like it, but you would think on paper. They close it out. Kentucky, playing against a team that we know is more talented than the Cats, but it didn't look like it during the game. UK somehow, you look at that box score, and you would have definitively said Kentucky won. If you looked at pretty much all the box scores from the regional teams, IU dominated, so maybe they're the exception there. It is shocking Kentucky found a way to not pull off the win against Texas. I mean, truly shocking. You get more than 200 yards, 18 more first downs, 18. You have the ball for 20 more minutes than they do. I was fired up on the postgame show. But Louisville, they pull it out. Kentucky, they don't. Louisville, they get to have a blast the rest of their college football season, unless something crazy happens. Kentucky fans are just so over it and have been. But had you found a way to win the game that you totally dominated, this is where we're at in the Mark Stoops era, having to talk about games that you actually dominated a top 20 team, but you lost on the scoreboard, so we're all still really ticked off about it. But had you won that game, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you that everything would have been turned around and everything would have been great. But you would have had some eyeballs going into that Tennessee game this weekend saying, all right, well, if you win that, then you move to 4-3 on the year. You know you're getting the FCS opponent, so there's 5 wins. And then you're talking about Vandy, Auburn, Florida, and Louisville. Can you get one of those to go bowling? That's it. And again, we weren't. If you would have, that's the beauty of sports, right? If we could go back a week, if we could even go back to Friday's show and say, hey, TJ, did you know on Monday, October 20th, you'd be talking about UK in the postseason and bowl games? I'd be like, what? Why? For 2026? Was this a wacky Wednesday edible edition show or something along that? What are you talking about? We wouldn't be talking UK and bowl games. Oh, just wait. Yes, you are. Because realistically, we should be. If you beat Texas, you go to 3-3 on the year. Tennessee Tech is 4, or is 5, excuse me. All right, I'm getting my wins all mixed up here. You would have been at 4. You would have been at 3 wins with the Tennessee Tech game being at 4. Tennessee at Kroger Field could have been winnable. Florida has now since fired their coach, Billy Napier, gone, if you didn't see that over the weekend. They won, though, which is kind of funny. Doesn't really matter, right? They're a serious football program, and they're not playing very serious football, so they do what serious football programs do, which Mitch Barnhart's dragging his feet on, obviously. But it would have drawn a lot of attention to that rivalry game against the Vols this weekend. Now, you'll have people show up because it's something to do. It's another Saturday. Keeneland's going to be going. Does Keeneland go the last weekend of October? Maybe they don't. Regardless, you're going to have some butts in the seats. There's going to be more orange there than we care to have. But such a missed opportunity by Mark Stoops and the Kentucky Wildcats on Saturday. And the conversation just should have and could have been so much different had UK just found a way to get 1 yard and not do the same damn thing 4 straight plays. We're going to talk about that game. I'd like to hear from you on the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. We probably won't talk a great deal about U of L's win at Miami, unfortunately, producer Matt, but there's plenty of other local programming on Big X Sports Radio that will have that pretty well covered. But we will. You can bring it up, producer Matt, if you want. I'll let you take it as far as I think is entertaining for our listeners. But that's where I'm at. Just an absolutely disgusting loss. Thank goodness Green Bay, not even playing all that great of football themselves out in the desert, they found a way to beat the Cardinals yesterday. Otherwise, I would just be a total and complete mess. But that's where I'm at, producer Matt. What's up? You are into your work week. You were anticipating it. It's here. Congrats to your Cards.
This is the one thing I'll say about it on the show is that I've always kind of been in the minority side that I love playing Friday night games because when you win them, you get the whole weekend to watch football, do whatever you want. Your spirits are high. When you lose, it really sucks because, like I said, now you have a long weekend of thinking about it. But Saturday genuinely felt like not real life. Like, I felt like I was waiting to wake up the whole time. And then, I was going to wake up, and we were going to be down 35. Miller Moss had thrown 7 interceptions. Dude's helmet was on backwards. It was bad. The thing about the Kentucky game for me, when I was watching it, if this is not the nail in the coffin for Mark Stoops, I don't know what is. Because, I mean, like, watching it was, I'm not even a Kentucky fan. It was frustrating me to the point of, like, I was like, oh, my gosh. Like, Texas O-line is getting obliterated. Arch Manning is playing horrible. Texas defense, like, they're playing well, but not better than Kentucky's defense is playing. Like, you know, you only give up one touchdown in the whole game. And you somehow, when it went to overtime, I was like, Kentucky's winning this football game. Like, they are going to win this football game. I don't see any way around it.
Oh, there's just so much wrong with that game.
There's
like 4 different things that could be like, I can't believe that happened. But then something else would happen where that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. The fact that when Texas, oh my goodness gracious, Texas kicks that field goal, Matt, to go up 13-10, and naturally you're like, well, Kentucky can't go do a 2-minute.
No,
drill
I was like,
right?
oh, okay, makes sense. Game's over now.
That's probably it. And I'm getting ahead of my skis here a little bit, but the fact that Kentucky even had any time at all to have the dream of a 2-minute drill was so idiotic by Texas, I can't even hardly explain it. Their decision to throw the ball, which, what are you doing? You had the game won. You've got a kicker that is not going to miss. All you have to do is make Kentucky burn their timeouts, kick your field goal, and get the hell out of Dodge. And they gave Kentucky a gift. They gave Kentucky an out. And Kentucky took advantage of it. But I couldn't even believe that before we even got to Kentucky getting the ball back. But when Texas kicked that field goal, I was like, all right, well, that's probably game. But thank goodness that it's not zeros on the clock, that they goofed a little bit and is at least giving Kentucky a chance. But no, I did not anticipate Kentucky being able to get in field goal range. But that was incredible what UK did there. But 14 seconds, producer Matt.
That's all you need.
14 seconds.
The thing that's funny is you brought it up that, like, the games, the U of L Miami game and the UK Texas game were pretty similar, especially coming out of the wire. I mean, you got to think, like, you could really think that, like, Miami did the same thing that Texas was. Now, they obviously wanted to go for the win. They didn't want to go to overtime in a game they hadn't led at all. But, I mean, there was 36 seconds left. You had timeouts left. You were already in field goal range. You could run the ball, see if you get lucky, and then kick the field goal, and then, you know, you got Carson Beck who throws the game-losing interception. So, like, I don't understand. I get that both of those teams wanted to win and wanted to try to put the game out of reach. And Texas defense had looked good, but, I mean, my God. Mark Stoops, I mean, just absolutely pooped down his pants in overtime. Like, literally, as soon as it happened, I texted you and Steven. I was like, I need y'all's take on this final play right now. Like, no waiting, TJ. I need you to, right off the dome, I need you to tell me what you think.
Yeah, I wasn't sure exactly what. Again, I was at the ESPN studios. We were getting ready for the post-game show. There was just so many plays in that moment. I wasn't exactly sure which one you were even referencing. But
I guess I just meant like the final, not the one, the final 4. They were basically all the same thing in a row.
Yeah, it was the same play. You didn't have to be too specific which one. But you know, here's the deal. Like this was a poetic football game. This was a Shakespearean football game. There were themes at the beginning that tied in late into the game. We should have known if we had just the first series really told us everything we were going to get from this football game. And the Cats were marching. They were having Mark Stoops just absolutely in heaven. An 11-play drive spanning nearly 6 minutes. He couldn't get enough of it. The Cats were doing what they wanted and legitimately looking good. They find themselves in a 4th and 1. Oh, the old Mark Stoops. He'd kick that field goal, wouldn't even think twice about it. You take the points when you can take the points, and you don't question it, especially early in the game. They're down on the Texas 16-yard line. Oh, but Mark, he couldn't help himself. Yeah, they're calling for my job. They're saying I'm not aggressive enough. They're saying I don't know how to get the ball into the end zone. They're calling me, Mark, take the field goal, Stoops, and I hear it. So I'm going for it. And he went for it, 4th and 1, after an incredible drive. The Cats go right up the middle, Dante Dowdell, and he gets nothing.
Not even close.
Gets nothing. And boy, wouldn't that be symbolic, producer Matt, later on in that game. Kentucky on a 4th down, needing just a yard. You know what we'll do? we'll get our big horses and hosses, and we'll take on your big horses and hosses, and we're going to get that damn yard, aren't we? We're going to go right up the gut, and we're going to get it. We'll get our big power back, Dante from Nebraska back there, and we're going to get that yard. How many times throughout the night did Texas say, no, you will not? You will not get that yard.
Fair amount.
More on that a little bit later. So that was the first possession, and that ended up being the game, right? If Kentucky gets points there, theoretically, if you go to overtime, if you find any ways to get points anywhere else in the game, theoretically, maybe you don't do overtime. Now, of course, the snowball effect of all that could change things, but if you get points in that on that first possession, the game's probably different. I actually have no doubt about it. The game is definitively different. Instead, they get stopped, but them going up the middle, they would try that again later, unfortunately, for Kentucky. How about the end of the first half, the end of the second quarter here? Kentucky moving and grooving, looking good on offense, down just 7-0. And even then, Kentucky being down 7-0, you felt like that was a joke. The only reason Texas scored is because they got a big punt return and got down to the 2-yard line, and they scored. I'm going to rave about this UK defense at some point today, but let's not forget about that special teams touchdown that ended up going against the defense, but really it should have fallen on the special teams. I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on as well. But Kentucky driving again, similar, good drive. This one is 55 yards. That first one of the game, it ended up tapping out at 59 yards. But that was 11 plays, 59 yards for about 6 minutes. This one at the end of the first half was 8 plays, 55 yards in under a minute. So this offense can go if they need to, for what it's worth. It doesn't have to be Mark Stoops style. A.k.a. slow, methodical, boring, usually unsuccessful. Well, guess what? This one was unsuccessful too. They're moving the ball, no problem. And they take no shots to the end zone from the Texas 30-yard line. I don't understand it. Take a shot to the end zone. It's a free play. You feel like you got a decent shot at the field goal as is. Instead, Cutter Boley makes a mistake. He takes a sack. That makes the field goal longer. You still have a chance to make it even a more manageable field goal, but with the timeout situation, I get it. So instead, you try the 53-yarder. It's no good. Leaving points on the board there. So you go into halftime with 0 points when you're looking at yourself and you're saying, wait, we had a 8-play drive of 55 yards, 0 points. We had another 10-play drive in the second quarter. That resulted in 0 points. We had an 11-play drive in the first quarter. That resulted in 0 points. How, Mark Stoops, do you so frequently have these long-ass drives that end in 0 points? How does it happen? Why does it happen? So it's 7-0 going to the half. All right. A little bit more on that later. Because the way they ended that half is similar to how they ended the game. Kentucky driving again. A field goal to tie it. But producer Matt, there's 14 seconds left. It is third down. No, it's second down. What are you doing not taking a shot to the end zone? You're at the Texas 27-yard line. A touchdown wins you the game. Forget about the field goal. Forget about overtime. You have 14 seconds. And we played the Mark Stoops press conference after the game, and he was asked about that. And he said, it's really hard. It's really hard. They would have ran me out of I wouldn't have been able to show up in here had we not gotten the 3, had we not gotten the field goal off.
What down was that on?
It was second down. No team in the history of football has kicked field goals on second and third down more than this UK football team, and we're only 6 games into the schedule.
Even if it was just like 7 seconds, if you don't see a read off rip, you just throw it out the back of the end zone.
Yeah, seven's getting close, but I understand the sentiment. Like, yes, hey, all right, we're going to take a shot. I'm going to throw it to the back of the end zone anyways. It's probably going to be out of bounds for what it's worth because I don't want it to get picked off, but just in case my receiver can go make a play.
Like, you're not going through full progressions on this play. You're looking for one read. If it's not there, you just throw it away anyway.
Really what I would do back in my flag football championship playing days, which is totally comparable to SEC football, we all know that, is you take the snap, you got to trust your linemen, you keep a running back in for coverage as well, for pass protection as well, and you take your 6-step drop, you look, you may have like 3 wide receivers on the left side of the field, and you look at them throughout the progression of the drop. And then on the right side, you may just have 1 receiver in one-on-one coverage. And the reason you're looking down the 3, because you want the safety to go with them. You want all the help to go over there. And that way it's truly just a one-on-one situation with your guy on the right side. So I don't even care about the numbers on the left. I'm not trying to do a Hail Mary situation because you could get an interception there, and then the game could end. So I want to take as many bodies out of the play as I can. And instead, just the receiver you trust the most, one-on-one on the other side, ideally, and just a jump ball. And in college football, how many times do you see a dude go up there and make a play? Now, you can make the case, well, a defensive player could have been the one to make the play, and then the game's over. All right, you got to trust your receiver on that. And Mark Stoops goes into his press conference, and he's asked about it, and he says how hard it is, and he says he wouldn't have been allowed into the facility if they don't kick the field goal there. Dude, you haven't won an SEC home game in over 750 days. Your ass shouldn't be walking in there anyways. I don't care. We lost in overtime, but I can hold my head high because I did the right things. Your ass shouldn't be walking in the press conference anyways. It's been over 2 years since you've won a football game at home. You shouldn't be walking in anyway. I don't care if it's embarrassing the way that you... Dude, you had a chance to win the game, and instead you said, no, thank you. I want a tie. I just want the tie. Where's my sister? Need to give her a kissy. You didn't even take a chance at winning the game. It is not hard. The only thing that's hard is watching you coach football. That's what's hard, Mark Stoops. That is not a hard decision. Oh, then if the quarterback takes a sack, the game's over. Dude, what about this little thing called discipline where your players actually know what to do in tight situations? Wouldn't that be insane if they actually knew how to handle it so the quarterback doesn't take a sack? But what if the wide receiver doesn't fight on the ball and the DB picks it off? Yeah, what if your players knew what to do? Right? What if they knew what to do? Then you're probably not going 2 years without a win in your home stadium, right? It's not hard at all. The only thing that is hard is how hard you make it. Can you believe we had 14 seconds? And are you kidding me? To go 27 yards, 28 yards? You think, what? No, that's crazy.
To me, this shows not a lack of aggressiveness, but a lack of trust in your own football team. Like in a lack of competence.
A lot is lacking. You just make the case everything with UK football is lacking. The lack of creativity in overtime with the play calling there.
Which didn't make any sense to me because going into overtime, you put this beautiful 2-minute drill around to actually get yourself in a situation that you probably shouldn't even have been in. Whenever Texas made the field goal, it was like, oh, okay, Bush-handed offense isn't going to storm down the field here this fast. And they did. And they did it. And they forced overtime. I was like, oh, my gosh, they're going to win this game. And then you see the same play 4 times in a row. And I was like, what happened to what we just saw?
Cutter had been pretty good with the ball in his hands. Why not let him roll out on one of those plays? Again, woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? Had Kentucky on 1st and goal from the 3 in overtime, if they had exclusively only done silly little pass plays or they tried to trick play that didn't work, yeah, you'd probably have a big portion of the fan base screaming, why wouldn't you have tried to just run it up the middle? Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple, stupid, right? Just go right up the gut. What are you doing? And that would have been probably true. I'm not saying this needs to be Joe Biden's cabinet, but a little diversity would have been good. Run up the middle. Okay, it didn't work. This is Texas. Yeah, we did try that earlier in the game. It didn't work. Okay, well, let's not do that again, right? All right, let's roll out. Okay, well, that one didn't work either. So now we've gone up the middle and we've rolled out. That hasn't worked. What do we do now?
They'll never expect it again.
Well, I don't know. But I get paid over $1 million to be an offensive coordinator coaching a sports ball team. I would like to think I've got something up my GD sleeve. I've got something up my sleeve for 2 yards when you desperately need to have it. Producer Matt, isn't that just 101 for football coaches? Hey, we need a 2-point conversion play. Hey, we gotta get 2 yards. Here's a play that I know as long as everybody does their job, I know it's going to work. What was Kentucky's up their sleeve play? What was Bush Hamden's, aha, I know this will work play? Dude, it was nothing. It was what you, me, and anybody else else could have came up with in about 15 seconds? All right, timer's going. We got 15 seconds to come up with a play. I don't know. I don't have enough time to think of something smart. Let's just go right up the middle. All right, everybody, you all just block, and we're going to go right up the gut. That's what a bunch of goobers in a back alley would come up with if they had to be forced into a plan. But we're not a bunch of goobers in a back alley. Well, maybe we are. But these coaches aren't. It's their job to think of these situations. It's their job. Their livelihood depends on it. Hey, what do you got going on this week? Well, I'm working and trying to come up with football plays. That's their job. And when push came to shove, in the most clutch, important situation that this staff has seen in 2 years of UK football, that's what they came up with. And that's what they had. And the result, another UK football loss, despite outgaining a top 20 team by 200 yards, more than 200 yards, nearly getting 20 more first downs, and having the ball in your possession 20 more minutes. I think Kentucky ran 30 more plays, somewhere like that, if I remember from the postgame show on Saturday night. And 30 more plays. And you still lost the football game. Get Mark Stoops out of Lexington as soon as possible. We're going to get Stephen Peak on. We're going to take our first break. Get your text into the Game Day Men's Health text line. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio.
All right, so they spike the ball, stop the clock. Snap, hold, kick on the way. Kick is good!
Welcome back. Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. TJ Walker, Stephen Peak, producer Matt. Get your text into the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. Yeah, there's some of the plays there. The field goal to force overtime was incredible. That all looked fine. You wouldn't really have any issues with it when you realized that there was 14 seconds left before they decided to kick that field goal. You didn't need to kick it right then. Potentially you win the game. I don't think they would have, but it's just these little things, and they always seem to add up. Welcome back in, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Wherever you get your podcast, just search for Kentucky Roll Call. We're live on the YouTube. No Peak in the studio today, so you're just going to see pretty pictures of myself and producer Matt, but we are on the YouTube, so go and just search for Kentucky Roll Call, Big X Sports Radio on YouTube if you ever want to watch us live. And you can watch us anytime, really. So if you're a podcast listener and you say, well, what if I just give the old YouTube a whirl? You can do that. So check us out there. Get your text into the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. Do we have Stephen Peak on, producer Matt?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I know that he texted us and said that he was on his way to KS Bar like 5 minutes ago, so he's probably driving at the moment.
So he's probably going to go eat. He's not even worried about the radio show. He's just going to go and get some lunch. No, they've got some offices there. So he's leaving the Mark Stoops press conference, which we were going to play, but I don't know, producer Matt. I got so fired up that we just didn't get around to it. So no Mark Stoops today, but if there was anything super fascinating or interesting coming from what he had to say previewing the Tennessee game and recapping the Texas game, I will relay that on the show today. And then once Stephen Peak gets on, we'll go from there. But in the meantime, I'm going to read some text into the Game Day Men's Health text line because I know Peak's going to want to sound off on some of the similar things that I just sounded off on. So want to see what you all have to say before we head on over there. A texter says, hello, KRC Trio. This is Patrick Murphy. Yeah, I think it's time for Stoops to hit the road, but no idea who the replacement could be. Also, I finished as a semifinalist in the Indiana State Pool Invitational 9-ball Scotch doubles out of 85. Played with someone, same skill level as me, being a 4, that I didn't know, and we split $500, $250 each. Waited 4.5 hours to play the semifinal match. Yeah, so $250 for 4 hours or however. I mean, I get at that point you almost just have to break it down. But you do it for the love of the pool, Patrick
Yeah, I mean,
Murphy.
you just made $250 just to play pool.
Well, but it was like a 5-hour affair, though.
But did he have fun? What if the $250, TJ, is just the friends we made along the way?
No, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's probably doing. I don't think he's doing it for the cash. He's probably doing it to see where he ranks with the other greatest pool players out there. And then on top of it, you get a little money for your time. And I don't think if you lost, you got money. So if you're gonna spend all that time, you may as well be compensated for it. So way to go, Patrick Murphy. You did it. You did it, Patrick Murphy. And another texter says, also, do you think, okay, this is a couple texts here. Do you think we kicked the field goal with 14 seconds left because we were in a situation before that Cutter got sacked and knocked us out of field goal range? Well, on the flip side of that, you still had time to make it a more manageable field goal. And you elected not to, unless I'm thinking of a different situation at a different point. But trust your guys in that spot. You can't take a sack. You cannot take a sack. Also, do you think UK can get John Summerall or Will Stein with all these other jobs opening? I went on with Louis Ribot earlier today, and there's a report out there from one Justin Rowland. Justin Rowland, he covers UK football, basketball over at Cats Illustrated. Good dude. And he's come around to the TJ Walker line of thinking that there will be a new football coach for UK in 2026. So, for what it's worth, I love hearing that. When just a radio host says it, that's one thing. But if Rowland is suggesting that's where he thinks things are going, that's a whole nother thing. So if Roland is thinking, all right, I think this is probably all over, good news, folks, it's probably all over. For UK football fans, it's probably heading in that direction. However, with the Justin Rowland report, and you should go subscribe over at Cats Illustrated, he worries that Kentucky's going to do this, and I'm going to put it, well, I'll say just kind of what Justin said, and then I'm going to put my own spin on it. But he says, I do think that there's probably going to be a new coach at the end of the year. I worry that with all these other jobs opening up, that who Kentucky's top target is, they're going to wait too long. UK is going to wait too long. Summerall is going to get gobbled up by another job. Here's my spin on it. UK and Mitch Barnhart are going to be professional in how they do this. They're not going to fire Stoops early. And they're going to wait till the end of the year, see how all this plays out, have conversations, and then they will move on after an evaluation of the season. And Roland's coming out and saying, if you do that, you're not getting Summerall. He'll be signed, sealed, delivered elsewhere. And all that makes sense to me. What do you think Penn State's doing right now? I'm not saying this in the terms of Summerall, but what do you think Penn State's doing right now? Producer Matt, they're figuring out who their next coach is going to be.
That's all they're figuring out. They're obviously not figuring out how to win football games.
No, they gave that up a couple weeks ago, seemingly. What do you think Florida's doing right now? They're figuring out who's going to be their next football coach. Every job that's open right now, they're ahead of the jobs that aren't yet open. They're just ahead. There's processes that go into it. And you'd have an athletic director say, Mitch Barnhart has said this, I always have a list. You never know what's going to happen. Always got a list just in case something crazy happens. Well, he's got his list, and we already know the name at the top of that list. What we have to hope, wishful thinking, what we have to hope is that behind the scenes, with Mark Stoops still being employed by UK, that UK's people are talking to John Summerall's people. And I just don't have confidence that that's taking place right now. Because Mitch will do this the right way. Well, you nearly beat a top 25 Texas team. I didn't want to go thinking about new coaches where if you could have beaten Texas and then Tennessee and then you turn the season around. Mitch is doing this the Mitch way, which is going to be slow. It's going to be methodical. It's probably going to be the right way. I'm using air quotes around it. And according to Justin Rowland, that's going to cost you John Summerall. So I hope that report gets back to Mitch's people, where it's like, hey, if you do think that you're moving on after this year, get those ducks in a row, and let's make sure that you can get Summerall. Because this texter on the Game Day Men's Health text line, if I can find it, says, who do you think do you think Kentucky will get John S. or Will Stein if these jobs open, with all these other jobs open? Those have to be the first two calls if you're Mitch Barnhart, and Summerall's got to be the first one. But you better believe that Florida's going to want Summerall. Auburn's job may be open up. They're going to want Summerall. These places are going to – he is much more expensive than he would have been a year ago. He's much more expensive than if Stoops would have just left for Texas A&M, and then you hire Summerall right then and there, and it's just easy peasy. But that's the first call. I still think Kentucky would have a chance, but if they truly aren't going to get the ball rolling until December to do this stuff, very, very end of November, then they will not get either one of those guys. And you'll have to just keep going down the pecking order. But I'd like to think that they're not going to totally drag their feet.
I think that a lot of this also comes down to whoever the people are that Mitch Barnhart calls. The question is going to be, well, how much money are you going to give the football program? Because if you're giving that much money to basketball, like, hey, going forward, I'm going to be a new coach here. I'm going to need substantial resources to compete in the SEC. Whatever you're giving Mark Stoops is obviously like, we're going to need to up that. So where are those numbers going to lie at? And I think that's going to be a big talking point for whatever coach they're trying to bring in.
And I think it'll be nothing but good news for said coach when that happens. I mean, I think some people just get caught on, you gave basketball $22 million. It's not like that. That's how much supposedly through NIL and different deals and partnerships that the players made for this upcoming season, allegedly. But Kentucky's going to have $21 million, $20 million that they have to give out among their programs. And then that report came out in early summer that Kentucky was going to give 75% of that $20 million to basketball, which would have been like Kentucky's way of just locking in a Final Four for basketball more years than not, assuming you have competent coaches that would be constructing the rosters. And it almost instantly came out after that. They're like, 75% for basketball? No way are they getting 75% of that $20 million breakdown. The vast majority of that's going to go to football. And that's true. That was reported to be factually true. So whatever new coach comes in, whenever that day happens, I think they'll like what they hear. It won't be as much as probably every other SEC school, but it's not gonna be some of the numbers that were whispered earlier. Football's still getting the majority of that break of the $20 million. But yes, you're right. They're gonna be curious about that. But the appeal of Kentucky, it's the SEC job that doesn't. It's one of the few SEC jobs that doesn't carry the SEC expectations of, if you're not at the top of this conference or near the top of this conference within 2 to 3 years, then you ain't the guy. Kentucky fans want to win at the highest level, no doy, but we'll settle for just winning. Just winning. We'll take winning. Winning, yeah. Doesn't have to be at the highest level. Just give us some wins, please. And that's the appeal of the Kentucky job, is the expectations. You don't have to be world beaters. We just want a healthy blend of win, please. And I think Summerall would love to be the head coach in Lexington. I do. Now, do I know he'd rather be the coach of Florida versus this coach or that coach, or he'd rather be his heart's in this play? I don't know that stuff. But of course, Kentucky is a super appealing job. You can legitimately get top 10 money if you're winning 7, 8 games, beating your rivals here and there. Where else can that take place? Not too many other places, and maybe IU. They're getting big money and they're winning, but they're winning pretty big. So it is a good job. I do think it'll be an appealing job, but if you're, even if all things were even, if all the jobs opened up on the same day, Kentucky's probably not going to be top 5 in this coaching carousel cycle. You certainly don't want to give places that you consider yourself even with a head start. So Mitch needs to get on this stuff. And if you needed more evidence from this weekend, Stoops just doesn't know how to win these games. He just can't figure out a way to win these games. Do we have Peak on yet, or is he still?
We do. He just joined.
Okay. Stephen Peak. And speaking of Mitch Barnhart, one thing that I have not touched on was the reports and discussion about a hostile fan interaction between Mitch Barnhart and some fans, but we'll maybe get into that with you. How you doing, buddy? Happy Monday. Uh-oh. Well, that's not
you guys can hear me.
Oh, yeah.
All
right, there you go. We got a little something there. I hear you, Peak.
There we go.
You're in.
All right. Good deal. Yeah, I just got back from listening to Mark Stoops. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to hear from you guys. Did you play any of that in the first hour?
No, I got into it a little too much. I was ranting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different vibe this week, and it was a different vibe in the post game on Saturday. I think that Mark Stoops, it just maybe I'm projecting my own feelings on to what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing in these press conferences, but it's kind of somber a little bit. I mean, obviously, I will say this. I even talked to some of the people at Kentucky about it after the game on Saturday. A lot of times at the end of those games, players hang around on the field and they talk to the other team's players, and a lot of them, maybe they knew each other from high school or whatever the case may be. On Saturday, that was as dejected as I had seen Kentucky football players at the end of a game. I actually felt bad for them because I thought the players really played their heart out, and they deserved to win. I mean, you've already talked about it, and I listened to your post game on Saturday night. You guys were getting fired up as I expected, but they played a really good game. They deserved to win. They played one of the top defenses, and they moved the ball, and it sucks, TJ. I was so ready to check out. I was assuming Kentucky was going to lose by 20 points on Saturday. And we talked about maybe it being Archie Manning's coming out party. And I didn't believe until we got down to the 3-yard line in overtime. And I knew we were going to win. I was so confident. Kentucky football. They find a way to break your heart even as you're checking out.
Yeah, you get down there at the 3-yard line, and it's just Arch isn't getting the ball in the end zone. So if Kentucky gets up 7, the way this defense has been playing, get 4 stops, find a way, and it's celebration time at Kroger Field. And I don't know. I really did genuinely believe pretty much throughout that entire game that UK was going to lose. I was texting with some buddies. I texted Bradley Smith of We're Up to No Good. It was like, this is just going to be the most heartbreaking way to lose, isn't it? And I think I texted that to him in like the end of the third quarter. It was early on of just like, this isn't going to happen. But if Kentucky scores a touchdown in overtime, that crossed my mind. Just Arch is not finding a way to score. Now, if they need a field goal, that's a whole different story. But then when Kentucky didn't score, and you had 0 points in that first frame, anybody who had allowed themselves to believe at that point, you knew it was over and Kentucky was going to lose the game. And even still, Stephen Peak, the defense makes it a tougher field goal than it had to be in overtime for Texas. Texas gets that holding penalty, pushes them back a little bit, but they get nothing going. And then one thing, the defense was so incredible. To waste that incredible defensive performance with a loss really, really ticked me off. And even on the one touchdown they gave up, which wasn't their fault, it came off that punt return where Texas had 1st and goal from the 3-yard line. Even there, Stephen Peak, UK's defense lays a lick on the Texas running back to the point where he fumbles the ball. He fumbles it. So nearly, with Kentucky's defense being only given 3 yards to make a stand, they nearly did that. They nearly made a stand again. So one of the more truly inspiring defensive performances, I think, in the Mark Stoops era. Truly. I mean, Texas's offense is really bad, so you needed to look good. But they went above and beyond. That was an effort that had to be rewarded with a win. And nope, it wasn't. And it wasn't like the offense was absolutely butt cheek, Stephen Peak. The offense was probably the best that it's been this season. And does that account for anything? Nope, sure doesn't.
I mean, that was Cutter Boley's best game as a Kentucky quarterback. And that was honestly a game that Cutter showed some stuff that I hadn't seen. I mean, at least it's been a while since we had a guy who was this young look that good at quarterback. I don't know how far back you have to go. I was actually talking to Kentucky's Tony Neely today about that. He's been with the Kentucky program for a long time. He's been there since Tim Couch. So he's obviously seen a lot of quarterbacks at Kentucky. And he said maybe since Jared Lorenzen. And that's what's kind of puts you in this weird position, I think. It's like as Cutter improves, I mean, that was the best defense. That probably will be the best defense that he faces this year. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's defense is solid. South Carolina's edge rushers are good, but pound for pound at different levels, Texas's defense has the most pros.
So you see Cutter put up that performance. He's actually looked good both times against Texas now. And I don't know what that means for the future, though. I mean, that gives me some hope. That's not going to do it for the fan base if you run it back again with the same. Couldn't get in the end zone more than once again. That's really it. Like that's the streak. And I know people have talked already ad nauseum about the last 4 plays that Kentucky ran on offense. Mark Stoops talked about it in the press conference. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it we don't know if you see this angle, but the coach's angle they looked at, he's like, it's an inch or 2 away from crossing that goal line. He said his helmet got across the line. The ball was in his chest. He just couldn't get it across. It's just Kentucky football delivers one of these to you every year. Every year. And it's not unique to Kentucky. Most programs don't have a game like this every year. But, man, it's just to lose like that and when the fan base is, like I said, they were checked out. And you start to talk yourself into it around the third quarter. And even when Texas goes down and they're lining up for a field goal to win the game, there's 1 minute to go. And think, well, this is how we lose because we're not going to be able to drive down and get in field goal range in 51 seconds. And they do. And I am all right with them kicking the field goal. Stop me if you've already talked about this. I know you said on your post-game show you would have liked to have seen a shot at the end zone. I see where that could have ended in a sack and the game is over, or they complete a pass but they're not able to line up in time, or he doesn't get in the end zone and they're not able to line up in time to get the field goal off. So I was fine with it, but why are these little, like, it didn't hurt them, but why at the end of the halves, TJ, are they not running the clock down, then spiking it, then kicking the field goal so there's no time left? Why even give Texas the opportunity to return the kick when that's the only way that they have? Now, I know those are punts, but that's the only way they move the ball.
What's your question?
Why spike the ball with 14, 15 seconds left to give Texas a chance to return a kick after you make a field goal, after you attempt a field goal, into the first half, into the second half?
Because they don't know they don't really have a plan. They weren't sure exactly. There wasn't really a plan, and that's just poor coaching. And I hear you on you could get a sack, and maybe you just take the points. And we did talk about that already, and we're going to end up hour one here in another minute or two. I did talk about that. I can understand that, but Mark Stoops is on, year 13, year 14? Like, we have a track record of him. Don't get sacked. Don't let your player get sacked in that situation. Just don't allow it. And then he came into the press conference on Saturday night and says, well, if we don't get the 3 there, you all aren't. I'm not allowed to come in here and do the press conference. Dude, right. You haven't won a home game in over 2 years. You shouldn't be allowed to come in and do the press conference anyways. So it's like, yeah, I did hear
you all say that. Like, you lost the game anyway.
I can understand that, like, all right, I don't want to be overly aggressive if I don't have to, but that's a chance at the win on the platter. Like, go get it. You have a chance to win the game. All right, Peak, we'll talk with you in hour number 2. More text into the Game Day Men's Health text line. Stephen Peak's in the house. TJ Walker, producer Matt as well. This is Kentucky Roll Call. Hour 2 coming up next.
This is Kentuckiana's only locally owned sports talk. The Big X, AM 1450 and 96.1 FM, WXVW Jeffersonville.
Hey there, New Albany. This is Mayor Jeff Gahan. It's another year here in our River City, and what better time to show your support for our high school's athletic programs. Whether it's basketball or football, track and field or soccer, swimming or tennis, our Bulldogs are giving it their all on the field and court. So let's rally behind them, New Albany. Come out to the games, cheer them on, and let's make some noise. Let's show everyone what it means to be a part of the best city in Southern Indiana. Go Bulldogs!
Defining a new era in men's health, Game Day Men's Health delivers real results with no shortcuts. From testosterone replacement, weight loss to peptides, vitamins, and sexual performance therapy, Game Day Men's Health will have you covered. Their in-house lab gives you answers in just 15 minutes, and our clinic is designed for men who value privacy, speed, and results. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Real men, real science, most importantly, real change. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Calling all young golfers. The PGA Junior League at Old Capitol Golf Club is the perfect way to learn the game, make new friends, and compete in a fun, team-based environment. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, our PGA Junior League is coached by PGA professionals, helping kids build confidence on and off the course. Join the team and experience golf like never before. Sign up today at Old Capitol Golf Club and let's tee it up. Visit oldcapitalgolf.com to register now.
Roosters is the place to watch your favorite teams play. From college to the pros, Roosters has all the games. Plus, you're going to love the food at Roosters. Come watch the games and enjoy 79-cent boneless wings every Monday. Roosters with 6 Kentuckiana locations: Dixie Highway, Preston Highway, Fern Creek, Shelbyville Road, Springhurst, and in Clarksville.
Cards fans, looking for a competitive advantage in today's data-driven world? Look no further than earning your master's in business analytics from the University of Louisville in just 12 months. There's no previous coding experience required. Delve into the world of analytics and data visualization, learning essential tools like R, Python, Power BI, machine learning, and more. These classes are now available both online and in person. To get started or to learn more, visit business.louisville.edu/U of L MSBA today.
There's not a better feeling to have a smile on your face after getting your car serviced. That's how it works at Consolidated Tire and Auto Care. Serving Kentuckiana for over 3 decades, fixing brakes, putting tires on, and servicing your car. And now, from a new and improved location at 3305 Preston Highway. Want to get your car running right and keep it that way? Get to Consolidated Tire and Auto Care, 3305 Preston Highway. Got a question? You can call them at 456-2220. Consolidated Tire and Auto Care, total car care, and the best brake job in town.
When design is key to your landscape project, give Walnut Ridge Landscape and Design a call at 812-288-6691. Walnut Ridge has more experience than any landscape company in the area. Remember, Walnut Ridge Landscape and Design. When design is key to your project and you want the most experienced landscaping company in the area. Give Walnut Ridge a call at 812-288-6691. Walnut Ridge Landscape and Design. When design is key.
Another round of wind coming our way, not today, but for your Tuesday. So kind of just a heads up that tomorrow will be a windy day back into the area once again. So pay attention to the wind gusts and hang on tight to that steering wheel tomorrow. In the short term, we have a beautiful setup this afternoon. Lots of blue sky, high temperature.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. I'm TJ Walker, joined in Lexington with Stephen Peak, and in the other room with Matt Childress. We'd love to hear from you on the Gameday Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. Gameday Men's Health, they are redefining men's wellness. No shortcuts, just results. Testosterone, peptides, weight loss, sexual performance therapy. You can visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com, defining a new era in men's health. Winter right around the corner, and that's not the time to get a beer belly or to relapse in your health goals. This is the time to take it up a notch around the holiday season. Gameday Men's Health can get you on the right track, feeling great for the holidays. 502-414-1450 is that number if you'd like to get in touch with the show. I have yapped a lot about this UK-Texas game. I was incredibly disappointed with the loss. I want UK to win every game. If you're a UK fan, I don't understand how you wouldn't want that to be the case. But it's like Mark Stoops can't even help himself. Sometimes the 2-minute situations find him. And right before the end of the half, that was one where he was probably just so happy to get to the locker room down 7. But then UK found some success, and they were moving the ball. It was similar in the Georgia game as well. And then they just find a way to shoot themselves in the foot or make a mistake or just leave the fans disappointed and wanting more. And it's another week of doing that. So I've talked a lot about it, Stephen Peak. I'll let you take it away for your UK football thoughts or just anything maybe that you think that we haven't touched on or a different angle to any of these things. But we do need to talk blue-white from the weekend. That was on Friday. And anything else that is on your mind from the NFL, crazy NFL game. I'm sure you probably want to talk Miami Dolphins, Stephen Peak. Uh-oh.
Them a little bit.
There you go.
They're 0-6. Kentucky, 2-4. Dolphins, 1-6. That is 3-16 with the wins being Eastern Michigan, Toledo, and the New York Jets. That's about as bad as it could possibly be. I know you could go 0-7. Kentucky could be 0-6, but that's other than that outcome, that's about the worst that you could be. Now, that is one of the reasons why football is playing so hard to get with me. Like, I want to love football, I do, but it's tough. The sport is making it very hard for me. The football gods are not helping me out at all. Tua looks terrible. It's so funny. I listened to the Miami Dolphins press conference, Mike McDaniels, and it's just, we got to get back to work. I'm like, don't be saying that. I'm going to take a look at it. He's saying all the things, and then I read an article where it's like apathy is setting in the Miami Dolphins fan base. I'm like, how is this happening to both of my football teams? How is that happening? And then Kentucky basketball on Friday night, there's only one way to lose the blue-white game. And Kentucky about found a way to lose the blue-white game. And I got to be honest, TJ, I used to go to that game a lot when it was at Memorial. I'd go with my dad. And really, like, that was the one Kentucky basketball event I would get to go to for the season. And unless they played at Freedom Hall. And I don't think we need the blue-white game anymore. It's not because somebody got injured. There was nothing. Like, that was such a – you played for 10 minutes. The women's team goes out there, they warm up for 30 minutes, and then they do a running clock scrimmage. It's just don't do it. Make that what we saw from the blue-white game, that used to be the scrimmage we would see at Big Blue Madness. And then the blue-white game would actually be a full 40-minute scrimmage. And I'm fine with them not doing that because of rotation and you don't want guys getting hurt and whatever. I'm fine with not doing a 40-minute scrimmage. But if you're not going to do that, what we had on Friday was like, I don't ever need to do that again.
Well, why?
We didn't. There was really hardly any. Like, the blue-white game is when you get to see them actually play, and yeah, we got to see it. But
I thought that was real basketball. Did you think they weren't trying?
No, it's not that they weren't trying, but we got to see it. We got to see them play in real time, 20 minutes. And I think Mark Pope was actually teasing that they would play more, and then Jalen gets hurt, and then he gets on the mic and he says, "All right, we're done."
Well,
they're just gonna.
Well, you were there, so you may know it better than me. But I thought that they had announced that they were going into the Elam ending, and then he got hurt in the Elam ending.
He either got hurt right before the Elam ending, or it was during the Elam ending. Either way, they did that last year, and it was kind of cool. I did like that. I thought they played longer last year though too. I thought they did 2 10-minute.
I thought they also played a little bit longer last year, but I thought it was a pretty similar setup where it's like you're not coming here to see a full 40-minute exhibition game. And you are right. The evolution of the blue-white game has changed over the years. The way that you remember it, that's pretty well the same way that I remember it, was, hey, Big Blue Madness, that's just a show. That's an event. You're going there for fireworks and music and special guests and funny dances and motivating rah-rah speeches, but it's just a glorified pep rally is what Big Blue Madness is. And the blue-white game is, I want to watch some basketball. I want to watch some X's and O's. I want to see this center go up against that center because I want to know who's going to be the better option when the year starts. And that's what the blue-white game was. If you were a big basketball fan, you got something out of the blue-white game. If you were just a UK fan and you liked watching the games, but you didn't get into the X's and O's as much, then Big Blue Madness was more for you. So I've always liked that principle, and I still think it's that way. Like, if you are an X and O kind of guru, then the blue-white game is for you. And I liked it. I like seeing these two teams go against each other. And I like seeing, you know what? I thought that the makeup of the white team was better than the makeup of the blue team. But then the blue team went out there and just totally dominated them. So it shows what I know. And when in doubt, maybe the SEC preseason player of the year is just the angle to go. So I do like it. I don't want to see it go. If it did go, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. I wouldn't care. And I do think when you have actual exhibitions, which, folks, I know that we're a little bit down. We were on our high horse with basketball, and we're a little lower than we were with the Jalen Lowe injury. But I'm here to remind you, Kentucky plays Purdue this week, the number 1 team in the country, is taking on the Kentucky Wildcats in a basketball exhibition, and it's this week. It's not a month away. It's not a week away. We're a mere days away from that happening. So I am super, super pumped up about it. But I do think in this new era of real exhibition games, Stephen Peak, like Georgetown, not college, but Georgetown University, the Hoyas, and getting to play Purdue, maybe you don't need the blue-white game. But the thing is, the idea of the blue-white game is they're scrimmaging in practice, right? Well, what if they just did one of their scrimmages that they do in practice and we just let people actually watch it? And I think that's cool. You should do that.
Yeah, and that's where like people said you shouldn't do the blue-white game, risk guys getting hurt. Yeah, but what you said is absolutely true. They're doing that scrimmage anyways. It just so happens he got hurt when we were watching. So, but they were playing physical. Like even after the injury, I was like, all right, no more diving on the floor. But what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to tell them not to play like that But when the games count, go ahead and start playing like that. You can't. I don't think you can really coach that way. But yeah, I mean, it was still a cool event, and I do think the way that it worked in the past was that was their one shot to see them, and it was supposed to hold you over for a couple weeks until that first exhibition versus athletes in action or whatever, and then more recently the Georgetowns or whoever. But I agree. I am excited for Purdue, and honestly, hearing the good news come from I talked with Jacob Polacek, and he'll be on our show tomorrow, correct? Maybe he'll go into more detail about what he heard, but it seemed to be some good news, at least, that Jalen's not going to miss too much time. And honestly, TJ, tell me what you think about this, is that, yeah, you don't want anybody getting hurt, especially not Jalen Lowe, because that's your one true point guard, but it does put you in a situation that you could now get some run-in with Denzel Aberdeen. You got Jasper Johnson and Colin Chandler that you could throw out there at the point guard position and let them have some run and get acclimated to, because you're going to need them. I mean, Jalen Lowe's not going to play 40 minutes.
No, he's not. I've got takes on the blue-white game. I'm excited to give them. Let's just get into it. How concerned are you about the Jalen Lowe injury?
If you saw any of my tweets on Friday night.
I saw your text messages to producer Matt at me. I thought we may have to talk you off the bridge. I was a little bit worried about you, Stephen Peak, on Friday night.
Look, this is as excited as I have been. I think I got a decent pulse on the fan base with this one too, that this is as excited as the fan base has been in quite a while for Kentucky basketball. So it was just like, avoid the injuries this year. You are set up for depth at every other position except for this one. And it is unbelievable, the point guard injury luck that Mark Pope has had. I did a whole video on this last year about how unlucky Kentucky has been with injuries. But specifically, the last, we'll say one season and a blue-white game, Mark Pope has had how many injuries now? You had Lamont Butler, Kerr Kriisa. You had Jackson Robinson, who took over at point. Colin Chandler got his didn't he get his head cut open in one of the games? And then you had Lamont got hurt twice, by the way. He hurt his leg at Clemson and then hurt his shoulder versus A&M. You've had like 7 injuries to your point guards. And it's only been – and it's like people kind of thought that tweet was saying that Mark Pope or the coaching staff was doing something wrong. No, it's just bad luck. And it's just unbelievably bad luck. So that kind of overshadowed everything else and some of like the good things that we saw. And for me, it just clouded my memory. I had to go back and rewatch some of the stuff just to, okay, saw a lot of good things. Saw a lot of good things out of Jalen Lowe. I mean, that's what, that's kind of what really stunk about it, was that he was probably the most impressive player on Friday night.
That's what I was going to say, is that was probably one of my biggest takeaways, is that he's going to be so much fun to watch. The spots that he can get to on the floor with this roster, it's going to be great. With the bigs that he's going to have, he's not playing on the Pittsburgh Panthers anymore. It's a whole new ball game for Jalen Lowe. And it was also crazy that he was on like the team that was losing, because you couldn't really take your eyes off him. But on the flip side, the other team was scoring. They had the SEC preseason player of the year, and they just looked a little bit more methodical doing it. So Jalen Lowe's dad was tweeting me. I don't think he liked some of my tweets over the weekend. But he was tweeting me, because my big takeaway with the Jalen Lowe injury isn't the shoulder aspect of it. And I know there's been more news that has come out with that Stephen Peak since the shoulder injury. It's not really a big deal, right? That's the update. It should be like 1 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, so like decent chance he could play in the Louisville game. I would like, and I didn't think seeing it in real time, seeing the replays of it, I didn't think this was anything season ending. I didn't think like, oh boy, there goes UK's chances at any sort of success. It looked like he hurt his shoulder. Worst case to me was like a broken collar, which is serious. I mean, make no mistake about it, and that would be something that would probably knock him out till about SEC play or even a little bit further. But, hey, come March, I thought so when I looked at that injury, I wasn't like, all right, March isn't really totally being impacted. And I know seeding and losses and all that stuff can impact March.
It does matter, TJ.
I know it matters, not opening up that can of worms right now. So I wasn't panicked, long story short. When I saw the injury, I wasn't really panicked. But my biggest concern and what got Papa Lowe all worked up was I just think it's now the word I used that he had an issue with was I just think it's like a theme now. Are injuries going to be an issue with Jalen Lowe? It was an issue to start the year last year at Pittsburgh. He hurt his finger, and the only reason we know that is from Papa Lowe. For what it's worth, this is your wording. You were the one who used this as a little bit of excuse-making for his shooting from last year, which is fine. That makes total sense. I'm not calling you out for it. It was actually informative and insightful so he had a finger injury. Yeah, on a shooting hand, that's going to probably not make you shoot better. And instead of having surgery or sitting out, he played through it because he's tough, and we like all that stuff. So, yay, go Jalen Lowe. So I just brought it up to, all right, but he was hurt. He did have a finger injury, and then he missed some games in February unrelated to that injury. It was a separate injury. So, but he had another injury that caused him to miss a little bit of time. Not the end of the world, having to miss a game here or there. And then now, before the season's even started, he's hurt his shoulder. So I think it's totally fair to question in SEC play, is this dude going to be able to hold up? So when I saw him get hurt and the extent or what they thought the injury was going to be, I didn't panic. He's going to be fine. We're going to get to see him play in games in December, I would imagine. We'd get to see him play in SEC games. But the SEC is super physical. And Kentucky's schedule, it's not Cupcake City, USA. You're going against great teams. You're going against physical teams. And if Kentucky wants to achieve its goal of a national championship, your body's going to have to hold up. That's my biggest concern from this injury, is not so much the injury, but that it's another injury for Jalen Lowe.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. Those are two different injuries. Now, if you want to worry about, I think what's going to happen though for the rest of the season is he's going to be playing through he's going to play through pain.
Yeah.
Now, that's. There are going to be issues where he's going to drive to the basket. He's going to be playing defense. People are going to hit that shoulder, and it's going to hurt, and he's going to have to play through it. That's what makes it rough. And I hope this isn't another. It is his right shoulder. So hopefully it doesn't affect his shooting like the injury he had last year to the finger. But I don't know. I mean, isn't some of this stuff just like freak accidents? Like, he ran into Otega Owe. Maybe he runs into anybody else, or I don't know. I get worrying about that. I just don't know if, like, injury prone, I'm ready to, like, put that title on Jalen just yet. Let's see how this plays out. And there are that's what these exhibition games are now going to give us. We're going to see what Kentucky looks like when they don't have Jalen Lowe and when they are relying on Denzel Aberdeen, Jasper, and I guess Colin Chandler will run some more of the point this year. But one of the good things, TJ, about the Mark Pope offense, and we saw this last year, the point guard is really just bringing the ball up the court in most cases. Now, when a team is pressing, and that team is Oklahoma, like last year in the SEC tournament, it would have been nice to have a point guard in to get the ball across half court because that was an issue. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, Kentucky gets into their offense. They don't need a true point guard, and you don't really need John Wall to get the offense going. You don't need somebody just to break their man down and beat them off the dribble to to get into your offense. So I was really down on Friday just because of the injury. Outside of that, there was a lot of bright spots. Now, Kentucky didn't shoot the ball that well, but I like the physicality. I do think this team, all the stuff from last season, really the last 2 years where Kentucky's defense had been pretty subpar, I don't think that's going to be an issue this season.
Oh, did we lose Peak?
I think he muted by accident.
Oh, a self-mute. You never like that. He was talking about the shooting, saying it's not going to be an issue. It wasn't great. Peak, we lost you there for a little bit.
Okay, well, I was just saying that I liked what I saw from the physicality. I don't think the issues the last 2 seasons in 24 and 25 was defense, and I did like what I saw from the defense on Friday. I think that this team is not just well suited from its depth, but when you look out on the floor and you're like Malachi, Mo Diabate, Ortega. I mean, Brandon Garrison too. We'll throw Brandon Garrison in there. There's a lot of guys with a lot of strength that going to make teams really struggle to score on. I like the length of this team. That was kind of I guess the counterbalance against what some people were saying again about the offense. It didn't look as pretty as we've seen Mark Pope's offense look. But again, I'm trying to get takes from this blue-white game that doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't. Friday's going to tell us a lot more.
That's exactly right. No, you don't, and I don't think you have to force or formulate takes that aren't necessary because they are going to play on Friday. And after that, it's just 5 days or 6 days after they play Georgetown again, and a few days after that, the season starts. So it's here. It's not like we just have to take one little thing and run with it like it's summer months anymore, and I'm so happy about that. I like the makeup of this team. I like the makeup of the team before I saw them scrimmage against one another. So that I'm not going to have any grandiose takes necessarily. Some people were freaking out because the white team shot 1 of 12 from 3, and 3-point shooting was going to be a concern, and they were 1 of 12, and the other team was 6 of 14, and 7 of 26 from threes, not what we're looking for, and stuff like that. No, I'm not. I don't really have any huge takeaways. Cam Williams not shooting a 3, him only taking 1 shot. I was a little surprised. You'd like to see Cam Williams get a little bit more involved, but I don't have any huge takeaways. But I did rile some U of L fans up. Stephen Peak. I wonder if producer Matt was one of them. But when Jalen Lowe's injury happened on Saturday morning,
I saw that.
I had tweeted out, I said, all right, well, if Louisville can't beat UK without 2 of its starters, it may as well be time just to cancel the series. It was tweeted in jest. We have no idea if Jalen Lowe will be available. I would guess that he will be available. I doubt you'll see Jaden Quaintance. I feel strongly about that. I'd say it's almost a certainty you're not going to see Jaden Quaintance in that U of L game. But if there is a chance, theoretically, if Jalen Lowe's injury was a bit more severe, that you could be down, theoretically, 2 starters. Because if Jaden Quaintance was healthy to start the year, he would be a starter. He's not, so he'll start. I don't know if they're going to ease him into starting whenever he gets back. That would probably be my guess. But if you're looking at Kentucky's best players and everybody was healthy, Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance would be starters. Those 2 guys now hurt for the Wildcats.
Yeah, I mean, and you also have Ortega Owe still recovering from that turf toe injury, so he was limited a little bit. Now he'll be fine by the time we get here. But yeah, I mean, there is still a possibility that Jalen Lowe doesn't play in that Louisville game. I mean, I know that the timeline right now seems like he could be back, but we don't know that for sure. And yeah, that's significant. I mean, you're down 40% of your starters. That's gonna play a factor in that November 11th game. But you know what? Like, I still think Kentucky can win. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, you're not. No, you're not crazy for thinking that. Kentucky still can beat Louisville even if Jalen Lowe were to not play. I couldn't. The response. U of L fans are just generally so bad at rivalry and back and forth. The amount of response from just anonymous U of L Twitter accounts, and even our buddy Rashawn Myers, who we do like, Peak, it's a $22 million roster. Oh, you should be okay. You should be okay. I heard a lot of other U of L fans saying, we were banged up last year going into the game at Rupp Arena, and you all still celebrated. The whataboutism, the straw man that these U of L fans were creating just to tear down. Listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't celebrate. I'm just saying if Kentucky doesn't have two of its starters and you can't beat them, it's time to just stop playing that series because you're never going to beat them, right? And to bring up last year, U of L, you were so hurt. Like, listen, Kentucky had its fair share of injuries throughout the year last year. We don't have to go injury for injury with the Louisville Cardinals from last year. And that being said, if Kentucky would have lost to Louisville last year, it would have been embarrassing. What are you talking about? You're making my point for me. If Kentucky would have lost to U of L in Mark Pope's first season at Rupp Arena, it would have been embarrassing. I would have been embarrassed by it. It should not have happened. It did not happen. So life went on. If Louisville loses to Kentucky without Jaden Quaintance and Jalen Lowe, that'll be embarrassing for U of L. I don't know why any U of L fans would try to spin it any other way. That will be embarrassing if you can't beat UK without two starters when you lose to them every single year in the games at your place this year. Am I speaking French to anybody? Yeah. This is a no-brainer.
No. And I'll tell you what, TJ, last season, I'll be honest with you, I left Rupp Arena going, man, how did we only win this game by 8? And how come it took Lamont Butler being 10 for 10 from the field? I was a little disappointed that Kentucky allowed 85 points from Louisville. And it was a little bit because they were banged up, and I didn't think they were very good. And I thought, I was like, Pat Kelsey's going to figure this out eventually, but this year we should still win this game going away. And even though I never thought Kentucky was going to lose last year, there were moments in the game where I was like, all right, come on. Like, it's a 4-point lead. I don't feel comfortable with this. And Lamont would hit a 3, and then we'd feel better. But I celebrated, but I didn't walk out of that gym going, like, that felt great because I thought we should win by a little bit more than what we did. So it's not like they're going to put an asterisk next to the game if Louisville wins and Kentucky doesn't have Jalen Lowe and JQ. But clearly, without those two players, I mean, Kentucky still has a great roster, but that does take them down a little bit. I mean, JQ is a lottery pick, and I think from what we've seen out of Jalen Lowe so far, he's easily your best ball handler, probably your best passer. So yeah, without them, I mean, Louisville's got a great shot. They should win. They should. If Louisville's roster is as good as their fans are saying also, if Kentucky is down 40% of their starting lineup, yeah, you should win that game.
For what it's worth, I'm not conceding the loss to Louisville. I think even without Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance, the Cats can go pound for pound. And there is the only truthful thing in the mentions of that trolling tweet that I had over the weekend. The only truthful thing was, well, in the strength of your all's team, your bench, isn't that what you all were saying? The roster depth, isn't that something that you all were excited about? Well, there's truth to that. Yeah. And I think that you can actually make a case. Let's say Jalen Lowe's out 3 weeks, and that would put him right there at the U of L game. Maybe his first one back where you play a little bit, but he'd be rusty or something along those lines. This could be a great thing for Colin Chandler. It could be a great thing for Denzel Aberdeen. It could be a great thing for Jasper Johnson. Not that any one specifically do I even view, maybe Denzel Aberdeen, but do I view them specifically as point guards? But you can play point guard in Mark Pope's system. All those guys have the tools to be successful point guards in this system. And if you're going to get a little more time to do it, a little bit more versatility, that's going to be good for this team in the long run. And I think all three, Denzel Aberdeen, Jasper Johnson, and Colin Chandler, all three of them, with Otega Owe and the rest of the roster, could go into the U of L and win that game. I'd feel better if Jalen Lowe and Jaden Quaintance were healthy and playing, no doy. But, yeah, no, I'm not conceding that by any means. I'm just saying, U of L, you better win that game or else Kentucky fans are going to be even more obnoxious on top of the obnoxiousness that was the obnoxiousness of being really, really obnoxious.
Yeah, and especially, I know, if those two guys are not playing, I still would go into that game expecting Kentucky to win. Because, I mean, what Kentucky basketball game do I go into expecting them to lose? It's very few times in my life that I'll do that I've done that. But Louisville fans want this one so bad. They have beaten Kentucky, 3 times since 2008? Was that when Edgar Sosa banked in the 3?
Yeah, that was the 08-09 season.
Okay. So since then, they won in 2013, or they didn't. I don't know. The whole season vacated that year. So then they won the game. They somehow, the most impressive one was they beat Monk and Fox. And then they won the 2020 game. So I would imagine if I was a Louisville fan, I'm getting real sick of losing to Kentucky in basketball.
Yes. Yeah.
And you finally have a really good Louisville team, the best team you've had since that the season was canceled. And you're playing at home. And if you're playing Kentucky without one of their best players, maybe 2 of their best players, they are going to be furious if they don't exit the Yum Center with a win.
All right, Producer Matt, we're going to let you kind of chew on this, or at least rebuttal. We'll let you comment on it, and then we're going to take it to our last commercial break, and we'll come back and read the Game Day Men's Health text line. All right, Producer Matt, what do you think about all this UK U of L basketball talk?
When I saw the tweet you made, I honestly thought it was just a joke. Like, I thought you were just trolling people online and, just trying to being funny or whatever, just like normal TJ would, trying to get some reactions out of people. For me, though, when I look at this, so let's say they're both out, right? And let's say Louisville wins that game pretty handedly by 10 or more points. Does that make you feel more afraid that, hey, maybe the depth in this money wasn't spent correctly? Or are you more of like we're still missing 2 people, we're still this and that, or because like you made the point that hey, the depth is what this team is built off of. If that, aren't you kind of expecting that no matter what, with those 2 people out, this game to be close no matter what?
Do you want my honest or troll answer?
Why not both?
Well, all right. So the troll answer would be not worried about it. You're U of L. Kentucky's going to beat you. So let's just stop with the silly hypotheticals, right? The realistic answer is very few things, and I hate this because you're in sports radio, right? So we're going to Men in Black you after I say this answer. But the true answer is very little can happen on November 11th that is going to really change my outlook on either team and what their expectations will be come March. And I hate that answer, right? Because the UK UL basketball game should mean something. When you play it, you need hey, you all suck, we're good. You all aren't doing anything, we're doing something. Hey, guys, we're both pretty good. We're better, obviously, so we're going to go further, but you all are trash. So, I hate that, but it's November 11th. I mean, it is November 11th. It is so far away from meaningful basketball that, I am not going to be able to have any major takeaways. Now, if Louisville wins by 40, okay, then maybe, Producer Matt, maybe that depth, should have been a little bit better, okay? If Kentucky wins by 40, U of L, maybe Mikal Brown's not as good as we thought that they were. But assuming that it's just a 20-point game one way or another, it is November 11th. So, no, realistically, I'm not going to have any grandiose takeaways. But if U of L goes out there and UK has, everybody on the bench looks bad, maybe, I don't know, maybe, we'll have takes. We'll have to have some response to the game. But when you play it this early, it's a joke. It should never be played this early again. But that's what I've got on that, Matt. And then we can take it to our last break.
No, I completely agree with you. It's gonna I hate that the game is played this early. I wish it was more of a late January, February kind of game where it had March implications. You're getting these teams at their best. If there are injuries early in the year, you get those guys back. But I think it's going to be one of the most exciting Kentucky Louisville basketball games, obviously, in the past couple of years. I think it'd be one of the best in my lifetime. So I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it. No, it's you can't change anything about it now. It's coming one way or another, and both fan bases are totally geared up for it. If U of L wins, they'll rightfully be happy to finally get a win over the Cats and Mark Pope. And if UK wins, especially with some injuries at U of L's place, oh boy, That'll be fun, too. All right, we know the game time for Kentucky versus Auburn down in the Plains. They just announced that. We will relay it to you in our final segment and read your text into the Game Day Men's Health text line. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio.
By Kraft. So the gamble from Matt LaFleur pays off. Hands it off to Jacobs, and he is in for a Packers touchdown, his second today.
Go, Pack, go. Go, Pack, go. Go, Pack, go. Thank you so much, Green Bay, for not being upset by the Arizona Cardinals yesterday, which would have just made for an awful, awful football weekend. I could not afford any heartbreak there, but they outscore Arizona 14-3 in the fourth quarter for a dramatic 27-23 win. The clip that we played right there was Green Bay's last touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown for the Packers, and they still had to have a defensive stand to secure that win. It was a great game. It wasn't, I don't think, on the regional TV, but I was able to see it. And that clip that we played before the touchdown, if you didn't watch the game, you probably didn't know that this play took place, but it was, I don't know, just a little over 2 minutes to go. Green Bay had one timeout. So Green Bay had one timeout and the 2-minute warning, and there was maybe about 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. And Green Bay was on like the 31-yard line and had a 4th and 2. And I hated the play call to get Green Bay into the 4th and 2 situation, but so be it. It's 4th and 2. And they have a 46-yard field goal, I think is what it would have been, a 46-yard field goal to tie the game and give the ball back to Arizona with about, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, however long it would have taken the field goal to get through the uprights, with about 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. And instead, he decided to go for it. And again, I'm not a big Matt LaFleur fan, for people that have listened to Kentucky Roll Call for any extended period of time. But in that situation, I'm like, kick the field goal, dude. Extend the game. If you don't get this 4th down right here, the game is pretty much over. Maybe, just maybe, you'll get the ball back with no timeouts and like 20 seconds left. And that's best case scenario, 30 seconds left if I'm doing the math in my head. And then you'd have to go the length of the field just to get in field goal range. Just take the points and then trust your defense and go to overtime and win the game there. Instead, they go for it on 4th and 2 and throw like a 25-yard completion on a throw right near the end line, the out-of-bounds line. Had to get 2 feet down, Tucker Kraft did, and it worked out. But that was such a ballsy play that I could not believe Matt LaFleur decided to do that. Ended up working out, though, and Green Bay got the win. So he was right, and I was wrong, and I was a very happy Packer backer on Sunday. I desperately needed that. But it was a fun day of NFL football. Not so much for you, Stephen Peak, unfortunately, but producer Matt, big day for you as well, buddy.
Oh, I'm loving it. Mike Vrabel has brought such a warmness to me. Like, the fact that we have Drake May in MVP conversations right now. I mean, let me talk about this, okay? I, as an AFC East participant, dislike the Bills more than I dislike the Jets, more than I dislike the Dolphins. We have seen the Patriots come back from nothing before the Bills have won a Super Bowl, and that just makes me so happy.
New England 5-2, currently atop of the AFC East, which does feature Stephen Peak's Miami Dolphins, who are not in last place in the AFC East, though. So we've got the first place team, and we don't have the last place team. So that's important.
I actually have a question for old Stephen Peak real quick about the Dolphins. I have a genuine ask of what you think about Mike McDaniel. Like, at this stage, do you think Mike McDaniel has even one more season with the Miami Dolphins?
A year that he had to make the playoffs, and he's, let's say 1-5. What is he? 1-6.
1-6.
I said 1-5. He's 1-6.
Yeah.
I liked Mike McDaniel. It doesn't feel like that long ago they beat a team by 50 points. You never hear teams scoring 50 points. He beat a team by 50 points. And yeah, he's been unlucky with injuries with Tua, and then this year with Tyreek going down. But I mean, I don't know, man. There was some stuff that happened like in the preseason. I forget who they were scrimmaging. Might have been your guys. Might have been the Patriots. And they were hitting the quarterbacks. And the Miami players like, well, we should hit their guys. And Mike McDaniel was like, it's against the rules, and we're not going to do that. And it was like, all right, maybe he needs to stay an offensive coordinator. What I'm getting at, I guess, is that, like, I like his – I mean, the offense hasn't been that great either, but there's a plethora of reasons for that. But he has a good offensive mind, but I don't think he's like a basketball coach who's coaching football. Does that make sense? Like – you want a basketball coach who might be a little – guys miss shots. You don't want to get in their heads and stuff. But football is kind of like just about execution and its toughness. physicality, and I feel like he's a basketball coach who's on the sidelines at an NFL stadium. But did you guys see the what if you were a Kentucky fan and a Giants fan? Wouldn't that be brutal?
Yeah, that would be. I don't like the New York Giants, so I wasn't too heartbroken to see it. But that was a pretty wild way to lose a game. It was shocking that Denver won.
33 points in one quarter?
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Paulina texted me because her family is from New Jersey, and so they grew up.
Who's Paulina?
My girlfriend. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
I don't. Roll call and Paulina aren't on first name basis.
Sorry,
yes, yet.
I've mentioned her. Like Michael and Justin or Scoots also know who she is, so it was just a habit. But my girlfriend, her family's from New Jersey, so they're all Giants fans. She's not really into it, but her family is, and she texted, or I saw the score. I was like, oh, good for them. They're probably really excited. And then I turned the game off. About 2 hours down the road, she texts me and goes, that game, I'm not even a big football fan, was the worst thing I ever watched in my life. I was like, you guys were up like 17-0? What do you mean? And then I went back and watched the highlights, and I was like, oh, my gosh. Well, how does that even – 33 points in one quarter, how does that even happen?
I would have gotten the Giants to 3-4 with this fun young core that's just frisky and finding different ways to win, and that would have been 3 out of 4 wins for them. But that is an absolutely devastating loss to give up 33 points in the fourth quarter and to lose that football game. The NFL has such a healthy, fun product right now. Again, I know peak, it's just hard when the Dolphins are so bad. And Tua is easily the worst quarterback in the NFL. He just doesn't even seem like he cares anymore. It's shocking how horrible he is. But that was a great day of NFL football. Yes, if you're a Giants or a Dolphins fan, probably not as much. The Indianapolis Colts right up the road from us, they're incredible. That offense is truly unstoppable. Daniel Jones, he's great. Jonathan Taylor, 3 touchdowns. He's incredible. So, yeah, it's a good time to be a football fan around these parts, assuming you're not a Dolphins fan.
The Patriots and the Colts are both atop the AFC in 2025. I would literally think it's like 2009 right now.
Yep. I know.
Yep. Yeah, it's fun stuff. 2 NFL games tonight for your Monday Night Football. I love the 2 NFL games. That is the Bucs and the Lions at 7 o'clock. Detroit, a touchdown favorite. Big over-under, 53.5, so expect a lot of points there in Detroit. And then Texans-Seahawks tonight, which you can't envision the Seahawks fans really caring too much about that game. To get in, it's just $60. The Seahawks are 3-point favorites. They're having a good year, 4-2. However, we've got a Game 7 tonight. Seattle on the road, taking on Toronto. Game 7, winner takes on the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series. The loser, that's all she wrote there. And I hate that I wish this was tomorrow night. Going up against 2 Monday Night Football games, that's not the move, MLB, but I know how it works. I understand it. But if it was tomorrow night, this would have been standalone TV. Everybody all across the country and probably in Canada would have been watching it. But instead, I'll probably have the football games on if we're just being honest. But Mariners, Blue Jays, who do you all like in that one? Kirby versus Bieber. Oh, I mean, if the Torontos have a pitcher named Bieber pitching, I mean, there's just no way the Blue Jays lose.
Right. I'm gonna go with the Mariners. I'm gonna go with the road team. It's time for that franchise to win a World Series, and sometimes when you get your first World Series, some crazy stuff has to happen. The Red Sox had to have that comeback down 3-0. The Cubs were down 3-1 in their World Series in 2016, as I will continue to remind people about anytime I get the chance. The Mariners, for them, they're gonna have to take down the Dodgers with maybe the best baseball player of all time on the roster. So, if the Mariners can win tonight, I'd love to see them go and beat the LA Dodgers. And I saw somebody tweet out something after the Dodgers swept the Brewers. They said it's never easy being a Dodgers fan. What are they talking about? I mean, how many NLCSs have they played in since 2016? They kind of started this run that they're on.
I think that's about right.
They're a monster right now, and I mean, Shohei Ohtani, that's the best. I'm sure you've already talked about it, but that is the best postseason performance in any sport. you're going to be hard-pressed to find a even regular season performance in any sport that is as dominant. He single-handedly – TJ, I'm telling you, if you put a high school team out in the field, the Dodgers still might have won that game. Like, Shohei Ohtani may have single-handedly beat the Milwaukee Brewers that night.
That is a kind of crazy way to put it, is like how low could you go with positional players around him where they still win that game? And it may be shockingly low. I mean, it may be shockingly low. That was, I think, the best baseball performance in the history of the sport.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, with the exception of pitching a perfect game, which is you are doing your job perfectly, but you're only doing your job perfectly in one of the two biggest. There's two giant things in baseball. There's pitching and there's batting. So when you're doing a perfect game, half of your job you're doing perfectly, but you're not impacting anything in the other whole half of the other game, right?
Yeah.
He is impacting both at an incredibly high level, and I think his Game 4 performance on October 17th was the greatest performance in the history of baseball, a sport that has been around forever, and that was the best individual performance that the game has ever seen. When you take into this isn't just a random June Saturday in a 162-game schedule. This was the closeout game in the NLCS.
Yep.
And for him to, I mean, just the pitching aspect of it. He gets into the 7th inning, 0 earned runs, only allowed 2 hits, only gave up 3 walks, and 10 strikeouts. A pitcher
Insane.
having 10 strikeouts in a playoff game is one that they remember and talk about. He just did it like it was nothing. And then on the flip side, 3 home runs.
It's unbelievable. 3 for 3 home runs. That's unbelievable.
I think it's arguably the best performance in sports. In sports
Yes,
history. I mean, like, it's the equivalent of if he plays both sides of the ball, so I'll use him as an example. But, like, if Travis Hunter went out, recorded 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions in one single football game. Like, you single-handedly beat the other team as one player in a football game. And Shohei Ohtani did that by himself against, like you said, in a knockout game to go to the World Series against the Brewers, a team who at one point looked like they could not lose to a single team in the world.
I think the Brewers beat the Dodgers all 6 games in the regular season.
I don't get really how you can even top it. Unless you never say never, and history's meant to be broken. But he has now set himself in a level where if you're going to try to top this, it either has to be so unbelievably good offensive, and that's the only way you can do it. Because I would say that like Don Larsen's perfect game in the World Series Game 5, that is as good as it gets from a pitching performance. So you can tie that. You can't top that. But if you do it both pitching and batting, right? So you're going to have to get some other freak that can do it on both ways. And then what are the odds in a playoff game that you'd have that guy hit 3 home runs in the same game and strike out 10 people? It's just never going to happen. October 17th was baseball history that almost certainly will never be topped or matched again. And are we the biggest baseball show you're ever going to find? No. Do we hardly ever talk about it? Hardly ever. But you have got to respect greatness. And that was history. History just happened on October 17th, and the dude's still going to go playing in the World Series here in just a couple days. That was incredible. 3 home runs, 10 strikeouts, closeout game to go to the World Series. You'll never see anything like it again from Shohei Ohtani. That was great. Let's go to the Game Day Men's Health text line. What do y'all say about that? By the way, UK Auburn, 7:30 on
another late game.
Day of the Dead. Oh, it'd be a pretty good day to fire Mark Stoops, come to think of it.
Another late game will be. I assume I don't know if I'll be going to that one because we've talked about this before. But I don't know if I'm getting approved for media credential at Auburn.
Yeah, you're a naughty bad boy on the plains.
Banned from the plains.
Yeah, you have to keep us updated on how that all. If you're unfamiliar, Peake told a story when he was covering the basketball game that he got permanently banned by Auburn athletics because he was cussing at people and doing different things that he didn't do. So, yeah, you'll have to keep us updated if you get that credential.
Yeah, we applied for it today. I'll let you know tomorrow.
You're gonna get flagged more than a Mod Flagner. I don't regularly watch NFL or MLB anymore, but Game 7 got to be bigger deal than a random football game, right? Yeah, but I just don't really care about the Mariners and the Blue Jays. So if that game is still competitive in the 7th inning, I will switch over, no doubt about it. And then, you know, there's multi-TV situation stuff going on. Who am I kidding, though, acting like I'm going to be up at 10:45 or 11 p.m., right? Who am I kidding? I'm not making it that far. I'll be long asleep.
Sorry, TJ, we're on a delay here, so I never really know when to jump in. But the Mariners have never appeared in the World Series, right? So you could be witnessing history tonight.
Yeah, but sometimes I like that history. And
I know you do. You love to see other fan bases just suffer.
Once that history's gone, you don't get to say that fun little caveat anymore, and it's gone forever. So I sometimes like to have those little mementos, like the Cubs not winning the World Series.
You have a passionate fan base who have waited their whole lives for this. You don't want them to experience that joy?
No, I want it to be dangled in front of them, and then we get to have that storyline next year. Think how fun it'll be if you had another year to it. Imagine if the Cubs hadn't won a World Series yet. Wouldn't that be so fun?
You know what? Like I said, I'd probably be more locked into the Cubs than I've been in recent years. So.
Like with anything in life, Peak, sometimes the anticipation is better than the act.
True.
Yep. We'll get who we get. We are Kentucky football. Silly to act like we'll compete with Florida and Auburn for a coach. But when you got some ties, when you got some tie-ins, that always helps. And you would have some tie-ins with both Summerall and Will Stein, who grew up a big Cats fan, before UK inexplicably didn't offer him a walk-on spot or any sort of spot. So instead, U of L did, and he became a U of L fan. But I think the Cats, if you offer him the right amount of money, he could get back in the blue, no problem, would be my guess. Texter says, Mummy or bust, we should be the first call. No, we're not going to go get Mummy. Another texter says, you get as much out of the UK blue-white game as you do the NBA All-Star game. Your takeaways probably should be, your grand takeaways probably should be about as much. But the spirit of the blue-white game is them actually playing against one another.
Yeah, the blue-white game gives you a little bit more. The players were going at it. And I think we've seen some all-star games where they absolutely do not go at it.
Yeah, exactly. Hypothetically, what is more palatable for UK athletics? $27 million due within 60 days or $38 million over 2 years? The 2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
60
that makes more sense.
Yeah, an extra $11 million for an additional, what would it be, like 700 days? Yeah, you'd figure that out. Wildcat Stung here stole this question from this week's We're Up to No Good episode. Who wins, a Mark Stoops coach Kentucky team or TJ with an identical roster and Magic 8-Ball making every single decision?
ChatGPT could help out a little bit too.
I like that you just have to. It's like, all right, it is 1st and 10, but Magic 8-Ball saying to punt here. Okay, well, gotta go with Magic 8-Ball. Give me in the Magic 8-Ball over Mark Stoops. A lot of text we didn't get into. I apologize. We'll do a better job tomorrow. Peak back in studio. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio. Producer Matt, Stephen Peak. I'm TJ Walker. Have a great Monday.